Hello everyone, hope y'all are well. This is the Tiny Rogue speedrun that netted me a official world record on speedruns.com for a few hours. There's a lot to talk about, and I'll talk about how that happened and the run details as we go along and what the category is. Here, for what I'm doing in Cinder 16, there are a lot of debuffs, like your weapon starts with a negative modifier, and I use the poison jar start in order to just overwrite that and give myself an extra damage boost. And as you saw, there are some doors that now require a heart in order to enter. And also on Cinder 16, there are more enchanted enemies as well as stronger enchantments, and they can have multiple enchantments, unlike in Cinder 0 runs. Alright, so oh, and here there are also infected enemies as one of the Cinder. I think that's four, maybe five different Cinder factors already, and they spawn nasty maggots that attack you. Okay, so Cinder 16 and another one. Now there's a giant robot that also shoots lasers and tries to murder you. So Cinder 16 is the hardest difficulty of Tiny Rogues, unless you're doing like no boons or other things. It's like it's the hardest vanilla difficulty. Oh yeah, and also there's fewer rooms on floor 1, 2, and 3, and more rooms on floors 8, 9, and 10. And the robots spawn in the boss room, and bosses are enchanted. So this is the hardest difficulty, and this run was done right after a new patch rolled around. I believe it was 0.3.1, and I very fortunately got a really good run, and I kind of speed ran the speedrun submission process and was able to very fortunately get through moderation and approval, and if for a few hours held the world record spot, even though a better run had been submitted beforehand. It took a little bit longer to approve. So through good fortune, I held the record. Now, and I'm not saying this to try, like, the speedrunning community is outstanding, and you should absolutely take a look at some of what they do, because they're the run that holds world record, at least on this patch now, like completely destroys this one. Mostly I'm just trying to survive, and everything just kind of fell into place for the last part of this run, for me to just clean up the dungeon and on the last few floors. But yeah, it was still really fun to do that, and also to just get the really just to it was fun shooting for it, and it's very fortunate that I was able to, that everything lined up so I could hold the record. Now I guess a little bit more about starting off. So I had mentioned the poison jar. The poison jar, like I said, overwrites the negative enchantment on the initial weapon and gives me an increased damage boost and a little bit of damage over time on enemies. Now, the starting class that I chose for this one was Paladin. The biggest factor in Paladin is that you start with the complete Paladin set, which is the helmet and shield, and it's a two-piece armor set. When you have all of it, all of your armor points get reset and restored at the end of the floor, and you restore 1 heart and whenever an armor is restored. I just love standing on the side and just wailing on the rock hole during that particular spot, because his attacks spawn in mid area. So basically I'm able to get up to 3 points of healing or more, depending on how much more armor and or hearts that I get each floor, which is really good, because that means I can spend my souls on other things rather than having to worry about using them to using the currency I collect in order to heal up from taking damage. You could always say just don't get hit, but well, Sometimes it's hard not to in this game. The other ability of Paladin is that you get an amount of, I think it's 40 to 50 radiant damage on hit per point of goodness you have. So the more goodness you have, the more radiant damage you do. Now the actual amount of radiant damage, though it helps, is slightly less relevant than what the effect of radiant damage does, which is apply a status effect called glitter, which gives you a 4% lucky hit chance per stack of glitter that decays over time. And lucky hits they roll twice for critical hits, but there are a lot of skills that trigger specifically on lucky hits, which allows you to do like a ton of extra damage. The first trait I took was the companions. They just gave me a just an attack speed boost, but also they themselves are able to attack enemies, so there's just more passive damage. Same with the poison aura. And again, if I have, my thought process on this is, if I have more ways of dealing passive damage, the better, because that means when I can focus on dodging and the enemies on screen are still taking damage, whether or not they're a boss or just generic enemies. And the companions giving melee attack speed also contribute to that, because all the companions in this game are entirely independent of the... Actually, I might be wrong. I don't think it's point of goodness. I think it's 40 to 50 radiant damage based off of maximum points of armor. I apologize, it's been a little bit since I've done this run, but I did want to make the fully commentated version of this accessible to everybody. And usually there I would get a like a heart boost or something, but I'm saving up for running into the good shop at the end of the floors, which allows me to increase my alignment score and go to the high heavens, which is where this run will ultimately end up. I don't know if I'm not familiar enough with the community to know which of the final secret dungeons is the easiest, but for me the high heavens always just feels the easiest, whether or not it's just the stage music vibes better. I just have a better feel for the secret boss patterns, but that's always been the easiest final dungeon for me. Yeah, so with the difficulty of Cinder 16, like the run fell into place. I'm not using optimal speedrun strategies. However, I am, like I said, as I go along, I have more things just keep falling into place to do absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. And like I said, because I have so much armor from the starting equipment and the paladin ability, I am able to freely spend my health as a resource. And there, even though I didn't have any health lost because the game registered that I restored armor, I got a free heart back. So all in all, Paladin is... I don't think it is the fastest class. I believe Superhero is the class that a lot of the top speedrunners use to run through, because it has some very ridiculously powerful bonuses on for your initial level up. However, this is still going. Paladin is a very solid choice. Yeah, Death Floor, which is Danger Zone, I just end up calling it Death Floor all the time, is the red skull patterns. Even if you dash through them and have iframes, you still take a point of damage. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, so the enchantments in this are pretty oppressive, and before the 0.2 release, I think it was always 2 enchantments, but in this version, some bosses and enchanted enemies can have like up to 3 enchantments, which gets absolutely ridiculous depending on what the combinations are. But they also locked some of the more difficult to deal with enchantments behind the cinder levels. And there I ended up picking an extra stamina just because although extra health is always good, having an extra stamina means an extra dodge, and an extra dodge means that I might take less damage overall. And here I think I grab Inspiring Presence. Yeah, so power increases the aura radius, but also increases just general damage percent by the number of companions I have. So the more companions I have, just the more damage I do overall, and also all of the area of effect stuff is gets bigger and better. And by the end of this, I will have a lot of companions. Yeah, so I think that is all of the major things of all the major unique things. Oh yeah, mimics are also enchanted in Cinder 16. I think that's all of the major differences between at least vanilla and Cinder 16 that I remember going through to this point. And if another one comes up, I'll do my best to point it out. Trying to explain all of this is just an absolute whirlwind of information. So again, to emphasize, the new patch just rolled over, and because of all of the specific stuff, speedruns always have categories based off of whatever the current patch is, as well as the type of run. So the specific category was Cinder 16 Secret Boss Glitchless. In this case, glitchless means that I am not using any glitches to advance, like a minor graphical glitch happens or something that is not. And as you can see here, because this armor adds beetle companions as well as extra armor to give more radiant damage, I'm ultimately going to go with that because that is going to be the best improvement overall. And here I've saved up my souls, so I'm able to get the angel charm, and this way I can do even more damage. Because in vanilla versus Cinder 6, in vanilla generally you're not taking as much damage, so you're able to more freely spend your souls, where in Cinder 16, if you're taking a lot of damage, you have to try and balance spending your souls to recover and not die, and hoping that you run into all of the appropriate shops so you can get enough alignment score in order to make it into floor 12, where in vanilla generally you don't have to worry about that, especially if you're used to playing on the higher Cinder difficulties, because there have been a few times where I've had a really good run and I just had the unfortunate thing of just like not getting a shop in floor 11 that's a soul shop to boost my alignment, and then just having the run not progress to the secret shops in I guess the run just dies at floor 11 because I don't have a high enough alignment score to get to floor 12. So I cover what the glitchless part of the run is. Cinder 16 obviously is just the max difficulty. All of the cinder settings are turned on, making the game as difficult as possible without mods. And then secret boss is any floor 12 boss defeated, and I just have to have a proper alignment score for any of the 3 secret floors to get in. And so for the high heavens it is goodness, for the shadow planes it's lawfulness, and for burning hells it is evil. Yeah, so not so having a good enough alignment score to not lose the run to the gate between floor 11 and 12 is important and a major part of the decision making of wanting to save souls versus spend them to heal. Oh yeah, and in Cinder 16, one of the things that I forgot is you only have 6 inventory slots instead of 8, and you can pay souls to unlock the other inventory slots. But generally I don't think that is super worth it. Now I was re-rolling the tavern to see if I could purchase a purging stone or green blossom. The green blossoms give you an extra stamina per room, or up to 10 depending on what perks you pick in the mastery tree. But more importantly, for runs like this one, they increase your good alignment by 1, meaning that you can spend gold rather than souls to increase your good alignment. And then, so I covered, okay, so we covered, and then, so secret boss means that you do also have to win floor 12. So we covered glitchless, Cinder 16, secret boss, and then the particular patch is just whatever the current patch is. And I think unless most things are run on current patch, there are some games, like for example, there are some very silly Dark Souls 2 runs that I know of that are run on the 0.0 release patch. And that's like reverse bosses and all sorts of other stuff where like all of the glitches are present. But I feel like in general, it's either like current patch or unpatched games that are run for, in most cases, for speedruns. But I think generally the most active categories are current patch. Yeah, so I think that covers the entire title of Cinder 16 Secret Boss Glitchless at the time current patch speedrun. And as you can see now with the crazy amount of companions that I have, that things are going quite well in terms of just like the passive damage. Corrosive magic is absolutely insane. So what this does is if I poison and necrotic damage inflict a stack of armor break, and if ever you get to inflict 5 stacks of armor break, the entire armor portion or the blue portion of an enemy's health bar completely disappears. And armor, I think, has, at least what it feels like, has typically more resistance to certain types of damage. So that being the case, just deleting a third of an enemy's health bar or more, depending on which, because some bosses have more armor than normal health. Being able to just completely obliterate that with accumulated poison ticks is insane. It is one of the most powerful traits you can get if you're starting with Poison Jar, because you can turn any 3 weapons into instantaneous armor breaks. Like, those robots have like 3/4 of their health as armor, and they got absolutely eviscerated at the start of this fight, making literally the entire rest of the Ice Dragon fight much easier. And as you can see, because I have 4 armor and I recover at the end of every floor, I am very much able to just abuse the amount of health I have to damage boost into cleaning up the fight. There I was checking equip load to see whether or not I can use the boots effectively. Because if you overdo your equip load, what happens is that you take some pretty hefty penalties, either both on top end damage, movement speed, stamina recovery speed. It's just overall it's not a fun time. Oh, and I think I forgot to point out, but the fire sword that I have right now is called Salamandra, and it, the little two fire dragons that are attacking with me are on the team because I have that particular sword equipped, and again, because of all of the boosts, just the extra 20% damage is, and the passive damage from their attacks is just great. And then the other nice thing about most shields is they have a point and maybe two, maybe more of block, which is just refreshed at the end of the floor. So pretty much if I am able to blitz through an entire floor, I pretty much just fully recover at the end of every floor, which is amazing. And that's why Paladin, I think, is one of the easier classes to do with on Cinder 16 runs. And the other thing is, even if you don't have the poison jar, there are certain traits like poison aura that do synergize with the corrosive magic. Like I said, that trait is one of the best ones in the entire game. So, like, it is absolutely ridiculous. If you can get that one early, it makes things go so smoothly. And there I was able to pick the chain lightning, because even though I don't necessarily have inherent lucky hit chance, the increased lucky hit chance from the glitter debuff that I get from having a bunch of armor allows me to have up to a 20% chance per hit of triggering a lucky hit without any of the other bonuses, meaning that I have a 20% chance of triggering a chain lightning attack. And then if I attack multiple times per second, that's well, the math starts to explode, just like the number of the particles on screen, as well as Ornstein and Smoke, because we know that they didn't make it out of Dark Souls 1, they're not making it into Tiny Rogues 2 either. Oh yeah, so here I think I grabbed the paper sheet to get the paper cranes, because they have the 0.5 companion weight. I'm able to summon more cranes, and they also increase the aura effect, which means enemies take more poison damage from being in the aura. All right. And now it is time to, hopefully all have taken a sip of whatever beverage of choice you have, because my goodness, is all of this an absolute mouthful. And this is like my least favorite iteration of like any of the floors. I absolutely hate those magic towers. And a large part of it is just because you can't reach them. Like this, because they stand still and and their attacks cover almost the entire map. They're just a pain to deal with. And now here, the run, although there's still like 10 minutes left for the run, and I probably could have made things go faster if I made the obliteration, and if I gave the obliteration one the poison effect sooner. The obliteration wand is a legendary weapon. As you can see, this just puts a lot of projectiles on screen, and because it's a one-handed weapon, I'm still able to have the shield up to keep the set bonus, and it is very, very good. Here I'm able to upgrade it up to max and just keep going. And I forget, I think it has an increased critical hit chance. I think it has increased critical hit chance as its modifier right now. However, later I will override it to poison because of all of the projectiles to break through enemies' armor faster. Again, here I am re-rolling to grab the Purging Stone to secure my minimum of +4 of the alignment score. in order to get into the high heavens, and there I had a sip of beer because it increases overall damage in general. But again, the poison aura does inflict armor break, just not as fast as if I had poison also equipped on my weapon. But yeah, legendary weapons are absolutely ridiculous. As you can see, the amount of damage they output from both attack per second and action and damage it's a lot. Yeah, and again, because the paladin set bonus is just so good, even though the shields in a vacuum that were there were better than the paladin shield, restoring 4 armor points and a heart is just so good that it puts the epic tier items to rest. And oh yeah, and then for speedruns of this category, it does go off of the in-game timer, but off of the speedrun timer, which is in the top right-hand corner. And the speedrun timer, although it doesn't always show, it does run during menus, level ups, etc. So that clock is always going. There are a couple floors where it stops, where I just take a little bit of a breath just because of how crazy everything is. But yeah, I am wasting time. So someone who is a more talented speedrunner than me would know exactly what traits and go from there. But I was just going, dang, this is absolutely insane. Because of how far I had made it in Cinder 16 and how quickly everything is going. Because spending less than 3 minutes per floor is just that is just like a good pace for me that I feel like in general, and for Cinder 16 keeping that pace is absolutely crazy. And so everything is all set and ready for the end game. It is just slowly going through, clearing things out to the boss fights. And the first obstacle along the way is Death himself. So although from previous, oh yeah, and here I'm just dumping all of my items because I know that there are no shops where I can sell them, and there are no more gold shops, and I got an extra mana star for extra damage percent. And yeah, because I didn't assign the poison debuff on my weapon, I had to maneuver a little bit so that way the aura took out the armor on those robots. However, since Death's health bar is mostly hit points rather than armor points, I don't think I'm losing too much time on this particular fight there. And yeah, so this is one of the rooms where the official speedrun timer stops, and I have a little bit more time to determine which one of the items I want to grab is, because they are all absolutely fantastic. So here I'm weighing the auras versus the companion buffs, and I determined that having an extra aura is not as good as having the beetle companions, and I go with the gloves with the legendary gloves instead. And now it is time for the secret areas. We have enough goodness alignment, and we can just storm straight on into the high heavens, where if we survive, which we do, because this I win this run. Spoilers, it held the world record. I didn't hold a world record because I lost. But every completed room is a very significant bonus. Like 2.5% on lucky hits when I'm attacking this fast is absolutely crazy. And here I just applied the poison just so everything's armor is just immediately obliterated upon going into the room. But yeah, I think I've said it in a previous video, I absolutely love the music of this level. The enemy design's really good. It's colorful. Every time I make it to this, even on Cinder 16, I'm just grooving, and I absolutely love it. So even though there's some absolutely ridiculous patterns, and that I'm completely filling up the entire screen with inflicted status ailments on enemies, it is such a wonderful time. And then Cinder 16 does not affect the floor length of the final floor, so it's only floor 10 up to floor 10 that gets increased length. Both floor 11 and 12 do have their vanilla 10 rooms. And the first boss standing in my way is Bahamut. Tiamat's the evil one with multiple heads. And here I just reroll it, hoping that I can get more legendary items, because legendary items are busted, and as you can see, Bahamut has 3 enchantments, because why not? And here I'm not able to get up as quickly to that corner, but I do eventually get into the safe corner, however a meteor forces me out. And here in this pattern I just take a breath. There's not much that can be done because Bahamut's not on screen, so I just try and move as little as possible and breathe and relax, and I finish up the fight. And now here, I'm just looking at the timer and going, oh my goodness. And yeah. And you know what? I think I'll come back in at the end, but just sit back, relax, and enjoy the final sprint. Because I've said so much about this, like, my throat's drying out just in commentary, so enjoy. And that is how I cleaned up the entirety of the final floor in less than 2 minutes. So I hope you enjoy the run. It's a ton of fun running this game. I highly recommend you do it if you enjoy speedruns, especially because, like, 30 to 40 minute run is much easier than a marathon, but also less frustrating than an 8-minute one. Again, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I appreciate all of your support. And yeah, good luck in all of your future runs, everyone, and I will catch you all in the next video. Have an amazing day. See ya.